Okay, today we're going to talk about classifying polygons. And if you'll recall, a polygon is any closed-sided figure, like triangles and squares and rectangles and pentagons and things like that. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to say, I can name polygons by their sides and angles. Let's first talk about classifying triangles. Triangles are classified by their sides and their angles. Let's first talk about how we classify polygons by their sides. Equilateral triangles are triangles whose sides are all the same length. Isosceles triangles are triangles whose have two equal sides. And in this case, this side and this side are equal to each other or congruent, but this third side is shorter. So it's an isosceles triangle. And the third way we classify triangles by their sides is a scalene triangle, which means all three sides have a different length. To classify triangles by their angles, we have to look at their angle measures. An acute triangle has three acute angles. And acute means their angle measures are less than 90 degrees. An obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle. And an obtuse angle is an angle that is more than 90 degrees. It is impossible for a triangle to have two obtuse angles because, if you'll recall, the sum of all the angles in a triangle is 180. So if I took two angles that were more than 90, such as 91 and 100, I would have 191 degrees just on those two angles. And I couldn't have a third one then, because a triangle can only have 180 degrees as the sum of its angles. The third way we classify triangles by their angles is a right triangle. And a right triangle has only one 90-degree angle. And we call 90-degree angles right angles. Just like with the obtuse, we can't have more than one 90-degree angle because 90 plus 90 is 180. So if I had two angles that were 90 degrees each, I couldn't have a third because the sum of all angles in a triangle has to be 180 degrees. So when we classify triangles, we do that by their sides and their angles. This means that every triangle has two names. Let's look at this triangle below. This triangle has three angles that are all 60 degrees. Those are all acute angles since they're all less than 90 degrees. The triangle also has three congruent sides, and the sides are in red here. Each side is 5 units long. So since every side is the same, it is equilateral. So we could say that this triangle is an acute equilateral triangle. It has two names. The first name describes its angles, and the second name describes its sides. Now it's your turn. Classify the following triangles by their sides and angles. Pause the video and answer numbers 1 through 6 in your notebooks. But then come back and continue watching because we are going to talk about how to classify quadrilaterals next. Now we're going to talk about classifying quadrilaterals. Remember, quadrilaterals are polygons with 4 sides. Let's first talk about a group of quadrilaterals called parallelograms. Parallelograms have opposite sides that are congruent. So, the top and the bottom are congruent, but then so is the left and the right. They're congruent to each other. They also have opposite angles that are congruent. These two angles are going to have the same measures. These two angles are going to have the same measures. But the important thing about a parallelogram is that the opposite sides are parallel to each other. That means if I were to extend these sides forever and ever and ever, they would never touch. So the top and the bottom are parallel to each other, but so is the left side and the right side are parallel to each other as well. We have special kinds of parallelograms that you may have heard of. The first special kind of parallelogram is a rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram because opposite sides are parallel and congruent. But this is a special kind of parallelogram because it has to have 4 right angles. Another special kind of parallelogram is a rhombus. And a rhombus is a parallelogram because opposite sides are congruent and opposite sides are parallel. But a rhombus is special because it is a parallelogram that has 4 equal sides or 4 congruent sides. So parallelograms can be broken into 2 groups: rectangles, which are parallelograms with 90-degree angles, and rhombuses, which are parallelograms with 4 equal sides. There is a fourth kind of parallelogram that we are going to talk about, and that is a square. And a square is a parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So a square is a special kind of rectangle and a special kind of rhombus. Trapezoids are quadrilaterals that have 1 pair of parallel sides. So the top and the bottom in this case are parallel to each other. So it's a trapezoid. But notice the sides are not parallel to each other, the left side and the right side. Just like parallelograms, trapezoids can be classified into special groups as well. The first is a right trapezoid. And a right trapezoid is a trapezoid, meaning the top and the bottom, or 1 pair of opposite sides, are parallel to each other. But it also has 2 right angles, kind of like a right triangle that's been cut off at the top. The other kind of trapezoid, that's a special kind of trapezoid, is an isosceles trapezoid. And this is a trapezoid that has the top, or 1 pair of parallel sides, but also has another pair of sides, the pair that's not parallel to each other. That pair of sides is going to be congruent. So that means the measure of this side and this side will be exactly the same. There's a third type of quadrilateral we're going to talk about, and that is a kite. And a kite is a quadrilateral that has adjacent sides that are congruent. And adjacent means next to. So these 2 sides are next to each other, and they're going to be congruent. These 2 sides are next to each other, and they're congruent. And it also has 1 pair of opposite angles that are congruent. So this side and this side, this angle and this angle. But not these 2. Only 1 pair of angles is congruent, and they're opposite of each other. Kites are a very special kind of quadrilateral because if we look at the rules or the definition for a kite, a rhombus is a special kind of kite because opposite or adjacent sides are congruent and opposite angles. It's got at least one pair of opposite angles that are congruent. A square is also a special kind of kite because adjacent sides are congruent, but it also has a pair of opposite angles that's congruent as well. Now it's your turn. Classify the following quadrilaterals by the best name we have for them. Just like when we were classifying figures, or I'm sorry, when we were classifying numbers, we had to do that by the best possible name for that particular number. In this case, when we're classifying quadrilaterals, sure, they're all quadrilaterals, and a few of them might be parallelograms, but what is the best possible name for each of these? Go ahead and pause the video now. Answer numbers 1 through 7 in your notebook, and don't forget to WSQ. You can go back and watch any portions of this video as you feel needed.